When you think of competitive Pokemon, you probably think of battling, whether that be in Scarlet and Violet or Pokemon Showdown. But I want to go beyond just the video games and find the true, best competitive Pokemon across all games. If there was one Pokemon you could choose in VGC, TCG, and GO, which would be the best? At a first glance, the best Pokemon might simply be the best Pokemon within a specific game, and for VGC, that undoubtedly goes to the ever-powerful Incineroar. With the broken combination of Intimidate and Fake Out, Incineroar has had countless placements at tournaments, boasting up to 70% usage. But when diving into Incineroar within the TCG, it's a different story. Of the 8 Incineroar cards printed thus far, the only one to have some play was Incineroar GX from Team Up. Though unlike the conventional evolution method, Incineroar GX was utilized in one of the many Mewtwo-Mew Tag Team GX decks, where, using its Perfection ability, it could copy the attacks on Incineroar GX. Due to the colorless attack cost of both attacks, Incineroar GX could be used in any Mewtwo-Mew archetype for its Darkest Tornado GX attack, allowing for a very powerful Revenge KO after taking damage the previous turn. Moving on to Pokemon GO, Incineroar has had literally zero play, especially not in the Great League. Not much else to say there. Okay, so Incineroar has had very little presence outside of its dominance in VGC, so let's instead look at one of the most powerful cards printed in the TCG, Zoroark GX. Not only have Zoroark GX archetypes won over 40 tournaments, but there have been plenty other strong Zoroark cards, including ones that haven't even been released yet, solidifying that Zoroark will always be a powerful Pokemon in the TCG. Outside of the TCG, despite its signature ability Illusion, ever since the introduction of Team Preview, Zoroark has never really seen much play in VGC. Unlike its Hisuian counterpart, Zoroark doesn't provide anything that unique, just being another special attacking glass cannon. And in Pokemon GO, it's even worse this time. Yeah, Zoroark has had literally zero play, making it even worse than Incineroar. So, both of those dark types have not had any play at all in Pokemon GO, so why don't we just look at one of the most dominant Pokemon from there instead? Despite multiple nerfs, Medicham stood the test of time being an extremely dominant Pokemon in Pokemon GO PvP. Formerly utilizing one of the best fast moves in the game, Counter, Medicham had a combination of stats and moves that allowed it to be useful in almost any scenario, leading it to over 85% usage and over 30 tournament wins. Yet, outside of Pokemon GO, the dominance of Medicham isn't as apparent. In the TCG, although having a plentiful number of printed cards, there have really only been 2 Medicham that have had any play. The first is Medicham from Primal Clash, which, with the Omega Barrage Ancient trait, had the ability to attack twice per turn. With this, alongside other fighting type support, like Focus Sash and Strong Energy, Medicham could take multiple knockouts in a single turn, especially effective against low HP decks like Night March. The other notable Medicham is Medicham V from Battle Styles. Medicham V was primarily used for its Yoga Loop attack, which had the incredibly powerful effect of being able to take another turn in a row. Because of this, alongside the colorless attack cost, Medicham V saw play in many deck archetypes, most notably in Rapid Strike Inteleon Urshifu. In total, Medicham V took part in taking down 7 tournaments. But in VGC, Medicham hasn't seen too much play, though due to having the pure power ability, it hasn't been completely useless. When Mega evolved, Mega Medicham could deal a ton of damage with its stab high jump kick, or hit hard with priority moves like Fake Out and Bullet Punch. Though when having to compete as the Mega of choice with other behemoths such as Mega Rayquaza and Mega Kangaskhan, its only notable placement was 2nd place at NAIC 2019. After taking a look at the best Pokemon from each game, there is a clear dominance that each of these Pokemon have in their respective game. But if we wanted to simply choose one Pokemon, and had to use it in a team for each of these games, none of these would be very good options. So let's shift our focus to Pokemon that aren't as dominant in a specific game, but are still very powerful. One of the most popular Pokemon of all time is Greninja, and it's no doubt that Greninja has had at least some play wherever it goes. And for the TCG, Greninja has made quite the impact. From Greninja Break to Greninja EX, and of course possibly the best Pokemon card ever printed, Radiant Greninja. Greninja boasts countless placements of TCG tournaments from regionals to worlds, but to be the best competitive Pokemon, Greninja must go beyond the TCG. Despite having two different powerful abilities, Greninja's VGC performance has been lackluster. Before the rework to the Battle Bond ability in Scarlet and Violet, Battle Bond Greninja did see some success in 2018, seeing a few top 8 placements in regional and special events, but due to its subpar typing and move pool, it never really saw much play. And in Pokémon GO, at first, Greninja was a pretty useless Pokémon in terms of PvP. But the 2023 August Community Day, featuring Froakie, brought Hydro Cannon and Greninja's signature move, Water Shuriken, to its move pool. This suddenly made Greninja much more viable than before, but in official tournaments, Greninja never really saw a huge success outside of one top 8 placement. After a quick look into each game, even with a popular Pokemon like Greninja, there is still an imbalance in the performance across each of the games, so let's take a look at another popular Pokemon that might fare a bit better. Everyone knows Charizard. Practically the second mascot to Pokemon, a mascot is bound to have some power behind it. So let's start again with the TCG. Charizard is infamously known to have some of the most expensive Pokemon cards to ever exist, but despite the price, there have been many Charizard cards that have been useful competitively. Most recently, Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames. Ever since its release, Charizard EX has consistently been one of the top decks in the format, having a monstrous 330 HP, self-energy acceleration, and a powerful attack. All of this led Charizard EX alone to winning more than 15 tournaments in the Masters division. But there is more than just Charizard EX. Radiant Charizard is not only a very common inclusion in the Charizard EX archetype, but also has had use in many other decks including Lugia V-Star and Lost Zone Box. Its extremely efficient attack made it a powerful inclusion in many deck archetypes, rivaling that of Radiant Greninja, undoubtedly making it the second best Radiant Pokemon. But that's not all. Charizard and Braixen GX, Reshiram and Charizard GX, or even the original base set Charizard, all have had major success, truly making Charizard an expensive powerhouse. But as well known as Charizard is in the TCG, it is no stranger to VGC either. Being the only Pokemon with 2 Mega Evolutions and a Gigantamax form, Charizard has clearly been a favorite of Game Freak, and with so many forms, Charizard has had quite the performance in VGC. Gigantamax Charizard has had a regional and an international championship win. Mega Charizard X has had its own 2 regional wins. Regular Charizard has had its 3 regional wins, and Mega Charizard Y has had 5 total regional wins. Across multiple generations, Charizard has been quite a useful Pokemon when it comes to VGC, but Charizard's success doesn't stop there. Charizard has also had decent success in Pokémon GO. When Wing Attack got its energy generation increased in Season 13, Shadow Charizard became an incredible closer, capable of sweeping teams. The sheer power of Shadow Charizard's Blast Burn allowed it to win 3 regional championships and win an international championship. With this many wins, it might make you think Charizard might actually be the best competitive Pokemon, but despite the success Charizard has had in all 3 games, I wouldn't quite consider it the best. In my opinion, the undisputed best competitive Pokemon across TCG, VGC, and GO is none other than Cresselia. From Cresselia level X to Cresselia from Chilling Reign to the most successful Cresselia card from Lost Origin, Cresselia in the TCG has had its biggest success from the help of Gardevoir EX, allowing it to win 3 tournaments and even reach 2nd place at the 2023 World Championships. But that's not all. Cresselia is not only one of the few legendary Pokemon eligible for the Great League, but Cresselia is also one of the bulkiest Pokemon, and by having such high defense and HP stats, Cresselia is also a powerful Pokemon in Pokémon GO. So far, Cresselia has won 11 tournaments, including an international championship, and has always been a top contender in Pokémon GO. But by far, Cresselia's greatest performance comes from VGC. Just like Pokémon GO, Cresselia is an incredibly bulky support Pokemon, most commonly used for its ability to use Trick Room and having access to Icy Wind. Ever since its introduction, Cresselia has amassed not only 11 regional wins, but also was a part of the 2010, 2012, and 2015 World Champion teams.
With so many years of tournament history and over 1,000 Pokemon, it's tough to decide what really makes a Pokemon generally more competitive than another. But if you were forced to bring Cresselia to all of these games, there won't be a shortage of value that Cresselia will bring to any specific game. But maybe there's another Pokemon that went under the radar, like Whimsicott or Sableye, or a newer Pokemon waiting to be added to Pokemon GO. Only time will tell what is the absolute best competitive Pokemon.